Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again. And yes, it is here. The new ban list just got announced. And honestly, it's more or less kind of what I expected, but at the same time, I do think it was a little just lackluster. It didn't feel as though it really impacted as much as I thought it would. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. But at the same time, let's try and be respectful. You know, I know sometimes it gets into like a heated debate or a battle in the comments. Let's try and keep it respectful. And I'm going to try and talk about this objectively as possible. But I also do want to give my own personal thoughts and kind of opinions as to why I think this is okay, but at the same time could have been a bit better. But we have RP Law as well as Enis Lobby getting hit. So as of September 1st, these two cards will be banned and cannot be included in a deck. And that's just for Japan. So we don't actually know the English timeline just yet, or the, you know, Western ban list. Now, before I dive a little deeper into this, that is something I want to kind of touch on. This is a call to action. If Bandai or somebody at Bandai does hear this or see this or any shape, way, or form, I really, really hope that we don't have to play through the exact same meta again. And like we did previously with a lot of the problems with, you know, Sakazuki and some of the other things, like just having to play through that was a pretty miserable experience. So I hope that we see this at the start of OPO 8. Japan, as well as all the you know, Eastern countries, are going to be playing this at the start of OPO 9, so the start of September. But I pray that we don't have to go through the same mistakes that they made in OPO 8 and just have to play through, you know, a pretty much already established meta that just becomes very RP Law dominated. It just doesn't seem fun. So I really hope that this takes effect earlier. That's just my thoughts. But thoughts on the two cards getting hit. I'm not extremely shocked about Enis Lobby. I think Enis Lobby is just kind of a silly card. This is something that we talked about on stream yesterday, as well as multiple times. This is something that I think stage cards are not extremely powerful in this game at the moment because there's just not many great ones. But Enis Lobby is something that is very good. It is leader locked though, but Lucci having just happening to be one of the best leaders in the game at the moment, and it looks as though it continues into OPO 8. Is the only one that benefits from this stage. So I do think leader locking obviously is a very good thing, but when you have a stage like this, it's it's not good. It's a net negative because there is no stage removal in the game. And I say that because, you know, somebody in the comments is going to harp down, oh, but there's like 2 or 3 cards that remove stages. 2 or 3 cards that remove stages. That's great. And they're only in particular colors. So this is something that I did bring up yesterday as kind of like a poll to my chat, and just kind of, you know, talking to them about like what would the thoughts be, what would the consensus be. I do think that if, you know, since stages are a part of the board state and they are a part of the game, Bandai does need to do a better job of having some form of like an option that you can put into your deck for stage removal. It's not mandatory. It's only if there's a meta relevant deck that has stages that you can decide, hey, you know what, maybe I tech in 1, maybe 2 of these cards just to, you know, kind of offset my opponent's you know, stage usage. And I think it's very relevant. You know, we were talking about like potentially like a 2-cost event or like a 1-cost event or something like that, that you have to perform some action relevant to your color that removes a stage of, you know, certain cost or less, or just outright. And I think that would be really healthy. So like similar idea to the 0 cost events that are in every single color, how you trash a card and you go plus 3,000. I think that's a great idea. It's in every color, you know, and it performs the same action. So they should do something very similar with like an event that does remove stages, you know, but maybe has, it could just be as simple as trashing a card from hand. It also could be, you know, like I said, relevant to the colors. So this is just an example, but let's say for green, it was you must rest one of your characters, KO your opponent's stage. For red, give one of your characters minus 2,000 power for the turn or something. You know, trash a stage. Yellow, trash a life card. You know, KO a stage. Yet again, these are just examples. I don't mean for that to be the way that it's done, but you get the idea. I do think that a universal stage removal for every color should be something that they should look into, because if they do want to continue printing stages, it's very necessary to have some sort of counterplay to stuff like this. But since we don't have that, it's a -2 every single turn for free till the end of the game. That is pretty insane. For free. Like, you just tap a stage that cannot be removed. It's essentially an uninteractable card on the board. It's just not, it's not good. So I totally understand why they got rid of Enis Lobby. It makes perfect sense. Banning red purple law, I think this is a super hot topic. And yet again, I think that this is, I'm just going to give my opinion as to why I believe they're banning red purple law. Not why I think it should be banned, but why I believe they are. And so with red purple law, its effect was very, very generic. Just being able to not only remove something off of your opponent's board, but simultaneously being able to just play any 4-cost, whether it's red, purple, doesn't matter, any archetype, power, you know, it doesn't matter. You could play anything. I think that limits design space in red and purple, so it stops, you know, the future of those, you know, 4 3-cost cards that could be very impactful for red and purple, you know, because they have to play around one singular leader. And I just don't think they want that. I think they want to continue to print, you know, some very powerful, very useful cards, but law just kind of makes that pretty difficult. And I personally don't love seeing leaders get banned, but at the same time, I don't think I'm upset about this. I think that it's fine, because realistically, I would like to see red and purple thrive, you know, from some really awesome like 3-4-cost cards. And, you know, obviously the card that was really making red purple law shine and just absolutely outlandish in OP08 was Black Maria. But they didn't touch that because they said, you know what, if we're getting rid of law, the card's probably fine. So I think we'll see if that card does end up being as crazy as it was in this deck, maybe in another deck. So I am very interested to see if that's going to be a purple staple now. But yeah, I think I'm okay with this. It's just it feels lackluster. It feels like we missed a little bit that definitely could have been hit. And you know, before I go into what I personally think I'm just like blown away by that didn't get hit, let's talk about the RP Law reprint. So the leader, although it is getting banned, it is getting a new promo card, and it's very rough. It is super rough. Yeah, so for life leader still, purple, red, law, and it's activate main once per turn, still Dawn -3. You have to return one of your characters with a power of 3,000 or more to the bottom of the deck, not one of your opponents. So you don't remove one of your opponent's characters, you're removing yours. And then you get to play a 1-cost 4 or less Heart Pirates type. Yikes. Yikes. I think that just honestly just limiting it to Heart Pirates and not having it be your character probably would have been fine. But yeah, it's rough. Yeah, he got nerfed to the ground. This is pretty rough. I don't see this having much play, but at the same time, I could be wrong. I do like this idea though, that they're doing something similar with Sakazuki, that they, you know, banned Sakazuki but reprinted it. Unfortunately, I do think they went a little harsh like they did with Sakazuki on it. It could have been pretty simple fix, truth be told, but at the same time, I would imagine they probably do like some form of vetting or testing to see, like, you know, how would this affect things. So I would imagine there's some form of quality assurance that goes into that, and I guess this is just where they landed with it. Yeah, RP Law is super dead. Yeah, this seems really bad. But it is what it is. I think that with it getting banned, at least the leader just making some form of a comeback is cool. But yeah, it's pretty rough. But now there is something I do think about when I mention, you know, Bandai's how they dealt with Sakazuki as well as how they dealt with Law here. And it's worth mentioning is that I believe this is now like confirming and like really showing us that Bandai does not want to do any erratas. You know, how we were talking about like, oh, well, Law could just play out a Heart Pirates. That would probably like limit it to playing certain cards, you know, just errata it to that. They don't want to do that. They are just going to ban the card outright, and they're going to reprint a new card that players can get and then play with accordingly. So I don't believe that we should be trying to expect any sort of erratas in the near future or at all in the rest of the game. So that does limit what we think could potentially be changed in the game. It's more than likely just going to be bans and restrictions. We didn't see any restrictions this time around. However, you never know. That could come at a later date. I do see that you know, there were a lot of cards that people are very upset didn't get hit, and the two that I thought for sure were going to get hit was Rebecca and Black Maria. I thought there was no way, shape, or form that Black Maria stays, but they said, you know what, we're just going to take out the whole problem and just get rid of RP Law as a whole so that Black Maria can stay. It's probably fine, but I do think that Black Maria is an insanely good card still. I think that this is a card that probably a lot of people are going to be playing around with now over in Japan with Purple Black King. I know that this card is going to be very good for the Purple Black Luffy as well that's coming out in OP09. So Black Maria is here to stay, and that was very interesting. But the fact that Rebecca didn't get hit is like astounding to me. And you guys know, like, I have been playing black since OPO2. I am a black main. I love the color. It is so fun, but it is very, very powerful right now. There are some very overtuned cards. Rebecca's one of them. Rebecca is, I think it's realistically the underlying issue outside of 8-cost Moria. Now, I understand that a lot of people would have liked to see 8-cost Moria get hit, and I agree, but I also see why they didn't. I want to explain my thoughts there. So Rebecca's realistically the stem of all the issues that are happening right now. Rebecca allows you to be offensive and defensive, and that in itself becomes a bit of an issue. So now we have this weird spot that we're in where Moria does feel even more broken than it should be. Moria, the reason why I don't believe they hit Moria is because when you look at the top end, you know, the high cost cards for black, what does black have that impacts the game that's an 8 cost or higher? You know, Pretty much nothing. Yes, you have Isho, but at the same time, that's not going to be like a stay in the meta. That's going to be a more or less just kind of a card that's here temporarily, and it's dealing with, you know, certain problems, and then it's just gone forever. So I don't see Isho sticking around. 10 cost Kuzan isn't really all that impactful. It's a great card, but it's not all that impactful. It's also not searchable, which is rough by anything. And then what is it? There's a 9 cost Shanks. That card does nothing. Does absolutely nothing. So that's not really a great choice. So black doesn't really have a lot of top end cards that are really providing it with anything. So if Moria were to be hit, you know, I still think black would be fine, but it would be a pretty devastating blow. I don't think that Moria is going to be crazy. Maybe a few sets from now, but so I understand people's gripe with it. Well, it's really good right now. That's super fair. Like it's pretty crazy, but it reminds me of those Newgate days through OPO 2 to OPO 4. We all thought it was like the greatest thing ever, and then it pretty quickly got recognized as like, oh, okay, yeah, it's pretty good, but like it's answerable. And I think that's going to be the case for Moria, but yet again, I could be wrong. These are just predictions of mine. I just think that Rebecca is just not necessary in this game at all. This card provides way too much defense and value for a 4-cost card, and the combo off of Moria is just unbelievable. The 22 Dawn play is kind of ridiculous. The fact that this card can combo extremely well with Spandine and get back, you know, Lucci, and so now you're getting 2 4-cost cards off of Rebecca. It just doesn't seem right. So I'm not a massive fan of the fact that this card was left untouched, but I mean, that's where we are. I thought for sure that Rebecca was going to be getting hit. I thought Moria was a potential. I didn't think they would touch it, so here we are. I think my prediction was correct, but I did think that it had potential of either getting restricted or banned, but just not hitting Rebecca feels so wrong. This card is realistically the stem of all the issues. You know, if Moria is able to do a removal play with 8-cost Moria, it has no defense for the turn after, right? So a lot of times the decks that are trying to pressure Lucci down, their toughest part is they have to not only deal with their whole entire board being removed, but now they have to deal with like multiple blockers on board every single turn that they either have to pay a card to get rid of, or to just swing and their opponent gets a free block out of it. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. So I do think that Rebecca is unfortunately like a really big miss from Bandai right here. This card doesn't need to be in black whatsoever. It's crazy. It's too crazy good. This would be a card that I personally think they maybe ban in the future, but then restrict to like reprint it as a promo and restrict it to Dressrosa type leaders. But I could be wrong. I just think that that's something that would more or less keep the card viable and fix it at the same time. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. That's my thoughts on the ban list. I mean, it makes sense that they hit these two. I just think it's a little underwhelming. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts, though. I think that, you know, they did well in getting rid of these, but I think that they missed the mark a little bit. That's just my own personal opinion. Yeah, I think that some decks that are going to succeed off of this will more than likely be Nami. I think Enel also. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how players are going to be planning around these decks as well. And I'm not super excited about the fact that Nami didn't see, I'm not saying the leader, but, you know, some of the cards in Nami didn't see any sort of touch at all. I do think that deck is super unnecessary in the meta right now. This isn't Magic the Gathering. You know, this isn't a 20+ year card game that's well established that does require mill decks in order to, you know, answer different variations and stuff like that. So we're not even 10 sets into this game. I don't think Nami is really warranted to have some card like that, but I don't know. We'll see. I think that it's a card. It's a leader that not a lot of people have the most fun watching play, but also the most fun playing against. So I think that it might be looking pretty good in OP08 if we do see these towards the beginning of OP08. But yep, I went probably much longer on this video than I thought I was going to go, but I just thought it was interesting overall. I would love to hear your thoughts down below, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.